Those are key guys. I couldn't do it without them. All right, so this evening we've got some sculpting going on. We're going to be working on a bust that I've just started. It's in monster clay, so we're going to be talking a lot about monster clay and how to work with that material. And
we have an audio issue. There's no audio coming through. Sorry to interrupt, but there's we've got 5 reports here, no audio coming in. I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
How are we looking? All right, we're good. Sorry about the audio. We're trying to get it all squared away. So as I was saying,
take 2.
Yeah, let's
so
start
you can
over.
actually start from the very top.
Let's start from the beginning. Here we go. Welcome everybody. This happens. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us tonight. And we have a great show for you. We're going to be hanging out, sculpting some monsters. Obviously, that's the topic. I want to introduce you guys to some very key guys that helped me get this going. I couldn't do it without them. One of our guys behind the scenes here, Sam, is helping us out. Sam, you want to say hi?
Hello.
Sam and I. Yeah, welcome.
Trying to.
Sam and I work together at Sideshow Collectibles, and he's a great asset to have on this. I'm really stoked to have him aboard, and I can't thank him enough. Our other guy, which is going to be your moderator for tonight, is Ryan Endersby. Ryan, say what's up.
Hey, y'all. Hey, everybody. Super excited to have you all here. Thanks for coming to the first show.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you. So this evening, these guys will be helping me out. Ryan will be hanging out in the chat. If you guys have any questions about the process I'm showing, or just any questions in general about sculpting tips, anything you can think of, even not sculpting, whatever you want to talk about, I'm here to chat and sort of entertain. And we just want to keep it fun and light. We want to welcome you to the family. This is kind of, we want to make this a really family environment and have a lot of fun. So that's what we're going to be doing. And tonight, I'm going to be working with a material that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, which is monster clay, and it's in a gray color. So that'll be our sculpting medium tonight.
Do we want to show?
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's switch over to this is just a really rough early concept that I'm working on right now. And, we're going to take it much further and play around with it. I have some ideas for it. And we'll go over a lot of different tips and tricks on sculpting. If you have any questions, hit up Ryan in the chat. He will let me know. And then I can answer all those questions that you have. And it can be about anything. So to start off with, let's just dive right in. I need my glasses because I can't see otherwise. So this is just, like I said, a roughed out thing I did a few months back and never really did anything with. So what I'm going to try to do tonight is turn it into something cooler. And so we'll just start sculpting away here. And I'll talk a little bit about my process as well as I go, as much as I can, so you guys know kind of what I'm talking about. Especially you sculptors that have some experience, you'll know what I'm talking about here. So this is monster clay gray, medium, the medium grade. And I'll use it from time to time for certain busts. I like to use different clays from time to time. Sculpey, wet clay, whatever. But tonight, this is the medium. Just going to shove a little armature wire in here for maybe an arm or something. And so this is going to be every Monday night. We're gonna run this. Ryan, who do we have joining us? Let's kind of acknowledge some people here.
All right, awesome. We've got first up, we've got Brian Pickridden. He jumped online. He was one of the first folks online here on Wait this fine evening. We've got Collier and I have Go back a bit. It's always awesome to have Collier aboard here. We've got Matt McNeil. Let's see. We've got George. We've got Ashley Bosworth, and a few others for sure. We've got about 18 folks and growing here on our very first show.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Brian and I go back. I know Brian. We're longtime friends. Good to have you here, buddy. And who else did you say? We have Ashley, and who else?
Absolutely. We've got Collier Will.
Collier, what's up?
Collier,
Thank
I'm sorry
you.
if I butchered your last name, buddy. Collier.
Collier, thanks for joining. Ashley, thanks for joining us. Brian, thanks for joining us. Who else we got?
We've got Matt McNeil.
Matt McNeil, I know Matt. Yeah, thanks for joining us, Matt. How are you? Very good.
And a huge thank you to this crowd here at Casey as well, because they helped us get the audio on track.
Yes, thank you for that, guys. If something's not working out right, please let us know right away. This being our first show, we're gonna have to work out, some of the bugs, but we'll get there. We'll get it down. But thank you so much for that, because otherwise I'm talking to, not really talking to anybody, just myself. So. All right, so let's see here. I'm just playing around with some ideas with this guy here. We'll see what we come up with. In fact, I'll move away from focusing on that arm for a sec and move back into this body. All right, kind of roughing out his pec. And, if, let's also stress to them, Ryan, if there's any questions on tips or techniques on how to sculpt anything, I am open to doing very simple demonstrations. So let's say, you're having trouble sculpting human ears or something like that, or noses or whatever, we can throw out little demos to help people out and show them a little bit of that.
Absolutely, Casey. I've sent a note as well to the good folks here that as we move along, even if things get very busy, I will keep a log here of any question that someone asks, so that in the event we hit a really busy night, Casey, that I can get that note in front of you, so that maybe on the next show we can address it, or when you have time.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll try to get to them. We'll try to get to everybody if there's any questions.
Sounds great. So far, folks seem to be just watching the magic happen here. We've got Blaine Murphy joining.
Blaine, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, and we will work out everything as we go and get this stream rolling as smooth as possible.
Right on. Casey, we've got a great question from Matt McNeil here. He asks, I assume you're planning on making a mold for this guy. How does that play into your clay selection? Will this ultimately be a resin piece?
That's a great question. Great question. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it is a little bit more of just sort of a fun concept piece. But yes, I mean, if I were to mold this, the clay selection can sometimes have a lot to do with, if I'm it can have a lot to do with if I'm going to mold it or whatnot. I mean, sometimes if it's a very delicate piece or something, I mean, I might choose a different clay, or I don't know. It just really depends. I mean, most of the time, I mean, all the clays can be molded successfully. I haven't really had an issue with molding any of them. But if I was doing this, say, in wet clay, like a water-based clay, I wouldn't be adding arms and different things. I would keep it very straightforward, just a streamline bust, and do that in wet clay. But in this case, monster clay, the only thing you really have to be cautious of is the fact that monster clay is heat sensitive if it's too hot. So if you leave it in a hot garage or something during the summertime, it could melt on you a little bit. You definitely want to be really careful about making molds that have shells, like a fiberglass mother shell or something like that, because the clay's heat sensitive, and you're curing that fiberglass or any of those kinds of shell materials outside. You gotta be careful, because you can easily have your sculpture melt inside. So with this, what I would do if I'm going to mold this later, I would just do a simple, either a 2-piece mold, clay up, where I clay the piece up in half and then mold it with silicone, or I might do cut the arm off and do like a pour mold and slice it up the back like a 1-piece mold and just slice it. So there's that. I mean, if you're doing other materials like Super Sculpey, the great thing there is you can cut parts off after you bake it, because it's a bakeable clay, and then you can make it all separate and key everything, so that's nice. You can also key it with this clay. It's just a little bit trickier because it's hard to glue to this clay since it's a wax base. You have to figure out a way to key it without that. So there's different tricks and different reasons why I would choose different clays. Like I probably wouldn't want to do too many full figure sculptures, small scale full figure sculptures out of this clay. I mean, you can, I just might be very tricky to mold that. The other thing I can say about that is, when you're claying up a piece, if you're going against a soft clay with the clay that you're going to lay up the piece with, if you're going against the clay, making your seam, you can easily gouge into this clay. So that's another sort of downfall with the oil-based clays, whereas like Sculpey, if it's hard, you can run a seam line right next to it and not damage your clay. So there's some different reasons to choose different clays. But anyway, I'm getting really carried away with that question. So.
Okay, so we've got just a small note here from Neo Kazama 2, who says that he's actually Chris, and that he had bothered you earlier with Predator builds, but he just wanted to say thanks for doing this, and a couple of painting classes during COVID helped him to keep his sanity and inspired him to keep going and keep painting. So he wanted to say thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Right, Chris?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. I appreciate the kind words, and I'm really glad that you found the tutorials and things helpful. That's great. That's awesome. And especially during COVID, it's, we've all been through a rough time. That's actually part of the reason why I'm doing this show right now is, I mean, Monday nights are everybody's, night where it's like the start of the week, and you want to do something fun or just relax, enjoy something, and take your mind off whatever's going on. The whole idea was that, and actually, when we originally talked about doing this show, I was discussing it with my wife, and it was one of those things of, I've been talking about doing this for a while, and the thing is finding the right day to do it, to because like it's hard to I was thinking weekends or something, and she's the one that suggested Monday night would be a really great night to do this, because it's the start of the work week and people need to take their mind off things, and nobody likes Mondays, so Mondays is always where stuff just goes wrong. In fact, we had a little bit of a rough Monday ourselves today, and so it's cool to just sit down and take my mind off that and work on this and share with you guys. So there you go. I just threw some. Yes, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, buddy. We've got, just sending a note here for the error that we've got 27 folks now jumping on board.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. All the new people jumping on board. Thank you for coming and joining the stream. Do we have any names we can recognize there or talk to?
I think we've got. I wanted to recognize George, who really helped us with earlier with the sound issue there.
Nice. Welcome, George. Thank you for helping us out with that. Really appreciate it. Oh, sorry, we got some sirens in the background. Every once in a while, where I live, and we're running a stream, there are some sirens that go off, so apologies. So, and I'm just roughing this out. Now, this clay that I'm using is very soft and malleable. If you've ever worked with monster clay, you know what I'm talking about. I just pulled this out of the microwave, so it'll harden up a little bit as we go on. I'm just kind of roughing out a quick arm there, you know, just something to see some idea here. I have an idea for this, but we'll get a little more into that. You're going to recognize it down the road here. I'm just playing around with some things to see what I like and I don't like. And again, this was just a bust I roughed out, you know, a few months back. I think it was around Christmas time. This was originally intended to be some kind of gnome or goblin or something. And it just sat around and I was like, I don't know what to do with it. And then it kind of hit me, you know, trying to figure out what to do on the first live stream for this show. I was like, oh, I could pull that out and work on it a little bit for people. One of the things we want to get into and let you guys know is this is something we plan to do every Monday night. And hopefully this is a good time for everybody, the 6 to 8 schedule. It's hard to get everyone in. You know, East Coast time is ahead of us, and across the world, the globe, people are on different time frames. So we'll do our best to find the right time frame, but we're trying this one now. And the thing I wanted to say was the plan with this show is to, you know, not just show one or two things or whatever. I'm actually going to show you guys working on commissions, working on different projects. Some nights will be painting, some nights will be sculpting, some nights will be who knows what. I mean, could even be some molding or whatever. I'm not really sure there. But you know, for now it's sculpture, and which I'm really stoked about because I haven't had the opportunity to show a lot of sculpting live to people. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's mostly been painting. But we will show all kinds of things. I may go into larger sculptures like masks, you know, and show you some commissions and stuff. We also will probably show progress. Like one night we might show something like this, the next night the next Monday painting, and then say the next Monday sculpture commission or something. So it's going to be a lot of different content to share with you guys. So I hope you can join us and sit back and relax and have a good time.
Roger that, Casey. We've got some good questions coming in here. We've got Blaine Murphy asking, he's watched your video on painting at Sideshow, and he wanted to ask, is that your full-time job as of now? How long have you been there? And are you no longer in the special effects business anymore?
Okay, and that was from, what was the name? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's from Blaine Murphy.
Blaine, yeah. Hey, Blaine. Thanks for the question. Those are great questions. I appreciate that. Yes, you hit the nail on the head. I am at Sideshow full-time now. That has been for the last 5 years. I've been a painter in-house at Sideshow for 5 years. I think I'm going on 6 years now. I'm not sure if it's reaching that point, but yes, I did leave the effects industry. That was about 7 years ago or so. And I went freelance for a few years during that transition, and then found a home at Sideshow. I was actually applying at Blizzard originally, and going to work at Blizzard, and that didn't really pan out. So then Sideshow and I started talking, and there was some interest with that, you know, for a while. So it worked out great, and I've been very happy over there ever since. So I paint, you know, the statues as a daily job. You know, 8 hours a day I'm painting statues, and then prototypes. And then basically what I do is this kind of work I can do, you know, at evenings or weekends to do my caseylove monster thing on the side or whatever else I need to do. And yeah, it's been kind of like that way for the last 5 years. And what was the other question, Ryan?
It was let's see. I think that covers it. It was if it was your full-time job and how long you've been at Sideshow, and
yeah, I think I covered it. Okay, I thought there was something else in there.
You're good to go. And then we've got Kevin Young joining us, and he just wanted to say that he's so glad that you're doing these live videos.
Awesome. Hey, Kevin, thanks for joining, man. Appreciate that.
We've got Brogan Johnson joining and just saying that he's super stoked for the live videos, and he misses your classes at your studio, and he just wanted to say thank you for doing this.
Brogan,
And,
yes, I remember him. Thank you, Brogan. Appreciate that. Yeah, I miss the live classes at the studio too. It's just, COVID kind of put a damper on all that for a while, and maybe again someday. But at the moment, this was something I was like, well, why don't we do this? Let's try something new. So here we are. But thank you for joining, and appreciate all your support.
Jason, we've got last penny question here from Matt McNeil, and he was just asking, how long do you tend to put the monster clay in the microwave?
Well, I take a bucket like this here. Can we switch cameras at all? So I take a big tub of it, like this guy here, and I put it in for about 4 to 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a little long, as you can see, but luckily this stuff doesn't really burn you too much. So I put it in for about 5 minutes, but 4, you could try 4 at first, and then that'll get you nice and warm, and then it stays really consistently smooth and creamy for a while, and you can work with it, and it slowly cools down. So that's kind of what I do. Now, the less clay as you use the bucket, if you have just a little bit of clay in there, you're going to start to find that 5 minutes is way too long. I wouldn't recommend it. It'll just be bubbling. So as you get down on your clay supply halfway or whatever, then switch to 2 minutes at a time or something, maybe a minute, and that's about it. So it's really easy, and it stays warm for a while. Now this sculpture, just so you guys know, there's really no armature in it much at all. I mean, a lot of times I just block these out on the board. I mean, sometimes I'll just run a basic wire up the body or something with some tin foil to give it bulk. But like the neck and stuff, there's no armature in there or anything. It's just solid clay, and that way I can turn it, twist it, tweak it, play around with it, as I go. All right, let's start filling in the blanks here. What's nice about this armature wire too is I can bend it and tweak it and figure out what I want.
Casey, I'll throw a question out there, just again as not only as a friend, but of course I'm a fan and a student. But of all the different sculpting forms, what's your favorite stage? Is it the kind of this beginning base stage, the form stage, or are you more of is your favorite part the final detail part, or what's your personal favorite?
When I first started, like any new sculptor, I was always fascinated, I think in the beginning, with detail, right? Everybody is. It's like, oh, I'm going to put all these details in. But then as you grow and you start to learn what really is important, you become, I think, a bigger fan of the roughing out stage, like what I'm kind of doing here. I'm kind of a little bit past some of the rough out, but I'm roughing out certain areas. That's kind of now more fun for me just because there's less stress over it or something like that. I can play around with ideas, and I'm not committed to anything. I can change it, which you probably will see me do tonight quite a bit. And it's just fun to explore, and don't feel, I can't stress enough to sculptors, like, don't feel committed to anything you do. Like, make sure I still make that mistake, actually. I mean, I still get too committed way quickly or too quickly, excuse me. And I end up like, oh, this is the best thing ever. No, so I still make those mistakes. And, I've learned a lot more these days to slow down and take my time and not rush and try to be super fast and all that, and just try to get things, find a good solid character. So that to me is the most important part of sculpting is finding something exciting and cool, a good character that looks good, tells a story, has some attitude or personality to it, you know? Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Casey. We've got Blaine asking a great question here. What's the difference between Siobhan and monster clay?
Well, Siobhan and monster clay are pretty different in terms of, I mean, they're both oil-based clays, obviously. They both come in medium and different standards, soft, medium, hard. The nice thing about, I can talk from my personal perspective on it. I mean, it's hard to, because, you know, a lot of people like Siobhan, and a lot of people like, you know, monster clay. And the nice thing about the qualities that Siobhan has that monster clay probably doesn't have is the heat sensitive aspect, right? Like, it's not as heat sensitive at all. I mean, Siobhan won't melt as easily in warmer temperatures and soften up in warmer temperatures. That probably is the only biggest downfall that I would say monster clay can have. Although, you know, if you're cautious of that, you're fine. You know how to take care of the clay and keep it out of those situations. Workability, I find monster clay to be, I find Siobhan to be a little tricky for me personally, especially if we're talking about NSP medium. Now, there's a new Monumelt Siobhan out there that a lot of guys like, and I've tried it and I like it. And that's because it reminds everybody of the old days of special effects, the Roma Plastilina clays and stuff like that. So, but the NSP medium, if that's what we're talking about, because that's probably the most popular grade of Siobhan, I would imagine, especially for special effects crew people. I had a tough time working in that clay, honestly. I had a real tough time getting used to it. I had to work in it quite a lot in effects, and I just never really got real comfortable with it, unfortunately. But that's also due to, you know, me being a user and all that. I mean, it's a great clay, and you'll see tons of amazing work with that clay. I've seen guys that are lightning fast with that clay that can they blow my mind what they can do. I just never found that comfort zone. So for me, I always, when I do use an oil-based clay, I always tend to sort of go for monster clay. It's a little more waxy based, and I don't know, it just has a nice, easy workability that I like. And probably the one thing I like most about it is it's not as sticky as Siobhan. So like your tools will get really gummed up with Siobhan. That always drove me kind of nuts. This clay doesn't really want to stick to anything because of the wax content. So that's great, you know, if you're like that. But yeah, I mean, you can't really go wrong choosing one over the other. The other one thing I did find with Siobhan at times is that getting little pieces to stick to each other, like little piece of clay on or something like a tooth or something, it kind of sometimes would fight you and not stick well, and that drove me a little nuts. So anyway, but yeah, both are great clays. You just have to kind of work with them and see what works best for you. It's really a taste thing, like, you know, like coffee. What do you like best, Starbucks or coffee bean?
Black coffee.
Black coffee. Yeah. Or decaf. No. So anyway, yeah. Ryan, do we have any other really good questions? And who was that question from?
Oh, that was a great one from Blaine Murphy.
Blaine, thank you, man. Appreciate the question.
Casey, you're rocking it out. We're caught up on questions at the moment.
Okay.
But, again, you know, the folks here really helped make the show, and everyone's been great so far. Thank you, Casey, for answering all these questions.
Absolutely. Just want to thank everyone that has joined us so far. Thank you so much. It's you guys that are gonna keep this thing going and make this thing, whatever it can be. I mean, the more followers and fans we get and all that, the better. So, like, if you guys don't mind taking a moment to like the video, hit like, hit subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. That way you'll get notifications when we're going to launch every Monday or other videos that go up on my channel. It's greatly appreciated. And, we can keep this rolling. That's the plan. So thank you for joining on episode 1.
You can also count on these being every Monday at 6.
Yes, every Monday at 6 o'clock. This is where you're going to find us.
And if you join a little late, that's okay, because we're here till 8.
Yeah, that's right. So we're going to do 6 to 8 p.m. And we'll have something new for you every week to check out. So the good thing is, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Casey. We've got Oliver Albin joining, and he just says, "Hey, Casey, long time no see."
Hey, Oliver, what's up? How are you? Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it. I haven't seen him in a while, especially with COVID. That's the thing that kind of sucks, We're used to seeing each other, all these shows that used to happen. It's kind of a bummer, but I think we're hopefully moving in the right direction. And the YouTube thing, this has been great because we can really bring it right to your home where you can sit back and enjoy. Hopefully some of you guys are even sculpting along, that's definitely, I encourage you guys to sculpt along and join us, man. Work on something of your own. And again, if some of you guys that are sculpting, if you have any questions about certain things you're struggling with, if I can be helpful with that, I'm more than happy to do little demonstrations while I'm working on this. We can stop and do demos such as, like, say, ears or noses or whatever you're struggling with. And I may hit on just some of those topics anyway, but
All right. Thank you, Casey. We've got some questions coming in here. We've got, we may have just lost audio.
did we lose audio?
Oh, there we go. Just popped back. All right. We've got Wagner Samoa 3D asks, "Hey, Casey, do you have plans to stream on Twitch in the future?"
That's a good question. I haven't given Twitch much thought at the moment because just getting the stream up and running on YouTube was quite a challenge as is, and I want to make sure that this stream is working well and doing what it's supposed to do. So I think concentrating, especially with my schedule and my co-hosts here, Ryan and Sam, helping me out. We all have very busy lives and busy work schedules. So I think 2 streams right now might be a little too much, but that's not to say that, in the future we could do something like that,
It is one of the goals.
Yeah.
Simul streaming.
Yeah. So yes, for sure, Twitch could be.
Or simulcasting, I should say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say Twitch is probably the other one to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's the one besides YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. So I guess that's a
All
yes.
Well, thank you, Casey. We've got a great question here from Matt McNeil, and he asks, "What would you use monster clay if casting in hydrocal, ultracal for a latex mask or bust? Is it tough to get out of the mold?"
So let me make sure I understand correctly. Monster clay for making a latex mask, right? Sculpting a latex mask and molding it in plaster.
Yeah, it looks. That's how I see it. He's asking, would you use monster clay if using hydrocal or ultracal for a latex mask or like a bust? And he's just asking if it would be tough to get the clay out of the mold.
Well, I mean, not really, because you can melt this clay really easy with a heat gun. or a hair dryer, or you could even, put it in a big bucket and you could just put the whole mold, in a makeshift oven or something if you had to do that, out of a box with a hair dryer. That's dangerous, though. Be careful. You don't want to catch your house on fire. So I don't want to recommend anything crazy. But there's ways to melt the clay out of the mold to make it easy. However, I haven't used monster clay for large things like that. I haven't used it for masks. And part of the reason is, although it's nice that it never hardens and dries out and you can just sit there and work on it forever, I find wet clay is the best for masks. It's so fast, so quick to change and make adjustments, and easy to mold, and I just think it's all around the best clay. And it's really not, people get really locked into like, oh, it's going to dry out on me. Well, if you're really bagging it and wetting it down just lightly after every time you sculpt and bagging it well, you're not going to, I've had masks last months, clay sculptures last for months and months like that. And you can even rejuvenate the clay if you had to, if it got a little too hard. So I do still think that wet clay is the best clay for that, and that's what I use. But you can use monster clay. I mean, people are doing it. I've seen people pull it off. Now, as far as which mold, I don't think it matters, honestly, unless there's something I don't know. I mean, you could use UltraCal or HydroCal. I mean, I'm a fan. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a fan of UltraCal over HydroCal for different reasons. Mainly just I like to take my time making a mold, and I don't like to be rushed. And HydroCal, just you have to be on top of your game. You have to know how to work with it, and you have to go and get it done. You can't just relax and take a break and go eat lunch. If you can't do layers. I mean, you can do layers, but you can't take your time and do layers. Whereas like UltraCal, you can. And I think, everybody seems to have different problems or issues with each of those, and I find it's weird because depending on the state you're in, I've talked to guys in different states and they have issues I don't have with UltraCal, and I have issues they don't have. It's kind of bizarre. I don't know how to explain all that, if it's just all coming from different manufacturers or different plants, or I don't know how that all breaks down. But anyway, I don't want to bore you guys. I'm going to bore you guys with all this jumbo talk, technical talk. So anyways, yeah, I mean, you can do it. I don't do monster clay for masks. I haven't tried it, but it's not impossible. You could totally get away with it. It works. I've seen it done. I've seen Rick Baker do it, many times. So yeah, it's totally possible.
Thanks, Casey. We've got a great question here from Mikey Seeger's Spook Show. And I recognize him from Insta here. He was asking, he says, thanks for making yourselves available for the show. He has a number of Tin Man costumes that he's making out of PVC plastic sheeting that he needs to paint to look like dirty metal. His question is, do you know what kind of substrate and final sealant he should apply for a semi-flexible but yet very durable finish? They need to survive scratches and a little bending.
All right, you're gonna have to repeat that one more time. Just the last part. He's making it out of.
I'll consolidate here. He says he's asking essentially for a dirty metal-like paint. What kind of substrate and final sealant that he should apply for this metal-like, semi-flexible but yet very durable finish? If you had any recommendations.
And do we know what material he's painting on?
Oh, that he did. He was saying that he's making this out of PVC plastic sheeting.
PVC plastic sheeting. He might have stumped me a little on that one. I haven't done anything really on that material much. And it's got to be a flexible sealant, right?
It's got to survive scratches.
Scratches
Scratches and bends.
Bending and all that on a plastic material. Man, he stumped me right off the bat. Look at that. I don't know. Honestly, I don't want to make something up here and pretend I know. I don't have enough experience with that material to give him a solid answer. The best thing I can tell him, and I know this is not the greatest, is the old Dick Smith trick. Try everything until you find that magic sauce that works. I mean, that's what Dick Smith used to do, and he used to preach that to a lot of guys is, try everything. I mean, I know it's not the answer you're looking for. I wish I had like a direct answer for you. But one thing I would say, and maybe this will lead you down the right road a little bit, I have had some of the, the Liquitex varnish stuff work amazingly well, surprisingly on materials you wouldn't think it would work on, such as urethanes, urethane rubbers. I've sealed them off, painted stuff. I did this actually on Men in Black 3 at Rick's shop back in the day. And there were some parts made out of urethane rubber, which is very, different than silicone rubber, because nothing wants to stick to urethane except urethane. So anyway, I found that I could seal things off with that and then paint on it and then seal it again, kind of sandwich it. And it actually held up very well all the way through set and filming. So I would say try, I'm not saying that's going to work, but try different things like that, because who knows? Someone knows, out there. Someone might know. So actually in the chat, if anyone has any experience with those materials, maybe they can help him out with that and lend some advice, because he kind of stumped me there.
Thanks for that, Casey. We've got two cool questions here. Going back to Blaine Murphy, he had asked, what's your favorite modern horror movie, 2010s and later? And he's saying that his is probably Hereditary.
My favorite horror... Gosh, these guys are going to stump me with question after question. My favorite modern horror movie... if I have to get into, like, stuff that I found disturbing and scary, it'd be like films like The Witch.
Oh, I love that.
Because you like that one.
I love that movie.
Sam loves that
so
movie.
Much.
So The Witch, that's that kind of dark, realistic, old time vibe type stuff always gets me. I think it's super cool because it's hard. Like, not a lot of stuff scares me, so I like it when something is really disturbing and creepy, because then I'm like, wow, man, this is like, if this was real, it would freak me out, give me goosebumps. So that one kind of sticks out. It's really hard to think of too many others, because honestly, not a lot has come out that I've been wowed about, as far as, or I'm not thinking of it at the moment, really. I'm sure there's a few others to name, I'm just not thinking. I like the new Batman, though. But that's not scary. That's not modern horror. I'm trying to think, man. Help me out, guys. What do you guys remember that came out? Oh, look, I've got a whole
The other one that
thing
comes
of
to
movies.
mind is, I don't know if it's really like horror, but like Midsummer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Midsummer, yeah.
That's a good one.
That was creepy. My wife and I watched that, and we were just like, that look. Like,
Yeah, I watched that movie thinking it'd be just another horror movie, and I'm watching it with my girlfriend's mother, and my girlfriend's grandmother, and it gets to that scene, and I'm like, I'm gonna walk out this room right now. I can't be here while this is happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That was an experience.
Midsummer was a creep fest for sure.
Loved it.
Or disturb fest, right?
Yeah.
What else? Oh, what's pretty cool was, although I guess it was horror, is what was that movie we saw? Old?
Oh, the
Were they-
Shyamalan movie?
Yeah, where they go to the beach.
Yep,
And
Old.
that was kind of cool. I mean, I can't say, that's a favorite, but that was kind of creepy in a way. I'm trying to think, though. Can we get, it'd be better if we get into what do I like, what are my favorite 80s horror movies, because those are the ones I watch over and over again and love to death, especially during October, the month of October. I do what everybody else does. You know, I turn on a horror movie every day and watch something.
Marathon.
I do have this weird thing, and I want to know if any of you guys out there have this. This is just a thing with me, and I know a few other friends have this. How many of you guys, when it's raining outside, you just have to throw on Big Trouble in Little China? Like, how many? Come on, you know you're one of them. You have to be. If you're anything like me, you're definitely putting that movie on. There's something about when it's raining outside and you watch that movie, probably because it starts in the rain, that movie, it just, the vibe is just sets you up. I'm that way for sure.
All right, thanks, Casey. We've got, let's see here. Oh, this may lead into the next part of the segment that you're interested in, Casey. Oliver Alden asks, where do you get your inspiration from your sculpts? Like the one you're working on, is it from books that you read? Is it from dreams? Is it from nature?
Well, I get ideas all over the place. And, you know, when I started 25, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whatever it was, I don't even remember at this point. When I started, it was when I, you know, early on as an artist, you haven't quite grown your imagination, and you know, that's something that I find you have to practice as well, like, you know, working on your imagination, and I can get into more of that later. But basically, at that point, you're really just like all new sculptors and artists. You're just looking at the guys that have come before you, the granddaddy-o, you know, whether they're a 2D artist or a 3D artist or whatever it is you're into. You know, you look at those guys for inspiration. So that's how I started with that. And yeah, we are going to share some of that tonight. In fact, where are we at time-wise right now?
It is 6:55.
Okay, so when we hit 7 o'clock, we will do that. So let me talk a little bit more about that. So nowadays, to be quite honest, I'm always looking at what people put out on Instagram and stuff, other artists and stuff, but I try not to let any of that inspire me in the sense like, oh, let me go do something like that. So I always try to come up with my own twist on things. But I always admire what's out there. You have to see what's out there because there's so many great artists doing stuff. It's amazing. In fact, some of them are too good. You know. So yeah, but these days I try to come up with my own designs. And I'm gonna tell you guys a secret. A lot of my great ideas lately, and the last several years, my wife and I have come up with. I mean, she's like, I don't know what it is. Maybe she should have been the monster maker because she always seems to come up with the damn designs, and I'm like, why didn't I think of that? You know, so whenever I'm struggling, like I used to do these shows, Monster Palooza, and I always hit. It started to get to a point where I was hitting what all artists hit. I know a lot of you guys, this happens to you. You just hit that flat zone or that dead zone, or you're not inspired, or it's not inspired, but you hit a brick wall, right? You can't come up with anything. That happened to me all the time before these shows, and I would stress to no end about it. I'd, freaking out, stressing out. She would recognize it within, weeks ahead of time. All right, let's sit down, discuss some ideas, and that really helped me, just sitting down, relaxing, discussing ideas, and thinking about what to come up with and having someone to pitch off of, because by that point you've done so many things already as an artist that sometimes you're finding maybe a lack of inspiration or whatever it is. So I always find it somehow through discussing. It's the same thing too, like in the effects industry, I would discuss with buddies all the time, like, guys I worked with, oh man, this would be cool to make this mask, or this would be a cool idea or whatever. And you just get your flow going. And once you got that flow going, you would just start finding more and more cool ideas. And so it's all about a lot to do with the positive mental state of your mind as well. Because if you're down and out, you're not going to be, you're stressed out, you're not going to be able to think of good ideas. A lot of it I find has to do with how you're feeling too, you know. Because when I'm stressed out or down, I'm not thinking about cool monsters as much as I would if I was just chilling and having a good time. So we all struggle with that, and it sucks to go through. But yeah, I mean, that's part of it. Now, a good thing I've found for me too, and I just want to kind of throw this in really quick. I found sometimes going back and looking at my history of art, like what I've done before, even if I'm like cringing at it, like, oh my God, that's horrible. It helps re-inspire me and get me excited about where I was going, you know, to begin with, because we can get lost in that journey. Like, where am I going with this? What am I doing? You know, it's easy to get lost and hung up. So I always find going back and revisiting your old self and what you've done can really help you get over that hump. And I don't know, you know, how much that's really talked about out there by other artists or not, but I've shared it with some of my class and stuff, and yeah, it's helpful. I've even shared it with friends that are in that slump, you know, and I think it's helped them. And yeah, so speaking of inspiration, one of the things I want to do on this show is pay tribute to key artists through my journey as an artist that I feel have really inspired me or helped me in some way. So Sam, why don't we switch to sharing here a minute. Now, this is a little segment we'll do. Sometimes I'll share sculptures, sometimes I'll share whatever, but I'm going to share someone else's art, you know, and this is definitely one of those big inspirations for me, those legendary guys that inspired me over the years. And I was fortunate enough to get to know him a little bit and sit next to him at many shows, mainly Wonderfest. If any of you guys know Wonderfest out in Kentucky. I'll just move this out of the way because it's a big book. And here we go.
Yeah, I could probably get that in there, yeah.
Can you get that thing in there?
Yep.
This is a big boy, man. This is a big boy. This is a book I got for a birthday present from my amazing wife, of course. Got me this book. And thank you, hon. She's sitting here listening. Okay, so this is Bernie Wrightson. And if any of you don't know who Bernie Wrightson is, please do yourself a favor and get to know who Bernie Wrightson is and was. Bernie is no longer with us, unfortunately. He passed away a few years ago, but he left behind some of the most amazing work, both in illustration, comic book, movie effects, you name it. He worked on a lot of stuff. His comic work and his illustrative work is insane. The history and the amount of work is insane. I mean, all of you guys probably know about his Frankenstein, which is probably his most famous work, his Frankenstein work on his book Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So all that illustration was amazing and mind-blowing. In fact, at where I work at Sideshow, I have big collages of that as my wallpaper of Bernie's art, just as inspiration. I've always loved it so much. So this book here, I'll just share a few things with this. Let's see if I can move this out of the way. This is one of those, I forget what they call this, artifact edition. So this is like a giant sized, I think maybe true to size to the actual original work and been copied off. And I'll just kind of go through some of this here. And I'll find stuff that, you know, like, you know, Swamp Thing and some of the work that's inspired me. What's really cool too is you can see some of the whiteout that was done when he did the original and all that. It's all there, you know, the name, the number, everything. So this is really cool. This is a great book, and there's just tons and tons of amazing art in here, you know. So if you find any of Bernie's books, there's one really thick one called A Look Back, and that's amazing. Here's an awesome Batman.
Can I show this? Show the camera.
Sorry.
There you go.
I'm going a little fast here, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Awesome Batman stuff. And another Swamp Thing there. You know, there's even some big fold-outs of Swamp Thing. I always love this creature here. It's really Arcane from Swamp Thing, really cool. So, yeah, I mean, you can't even put a measure on Bernie's work because it's just so vast and there's so much going on. So this is just a little show and tell, and thank you to Bernie Wrightson for all the years of experience and inspiration. This is one of my favorites right here. This can't really see it, but it's this Batman that's kind of sitting down contemplating in a cave. So it's pretty awesome. All right, so that's a little show and tell share for you. Also, there's his son, John Wrightson, who's a fantastic, amazing special effects sculptor. You should check out his stuff too. John is carrying on, in my opinion, his dad's legacy in his own way and doing some really amazing sculpture work and creature design these days. So check out John Wrightson as well. All right. So getting back to this guy, let's see what we're going. What are we doing here? That's the thing. Like, I'm just kind of futzing around with this thing, and let's see if I can find a groove to it. Like I said, originally this was kind of some gnome or goblin thing, and I've got a different idea for it now. Let's see. All right, Ryan. So if there's any questions from them, they can let us know.
Absolutely, Casey. Currently, we're good to go, caught up.
All right, thank you.
Getting a lot of love from what I see.
Nice.
Everybody's loving it.
We like love. We like the love.
Me personally, it's cool seeing all the Swamp Thing artwork. I've
Yes.
always looked at like creatures like Swamp Thing or Man Thing, and I'm like, why is it everybody always seems to talk about these two? And then it's like, I see artwork like that, and I'm like, wow, there are a lot of people that really love him. Like, holy mackerel.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I mean, Bernie's one of the creators of Swamp Thing, the comic. So that's in itself huge part of his career. I'm sure that he really loved doing. Yeah, he was and I don't know if any of you guys that ever had the opportunity to meet Bernie Wrightson in person. He was a very, very low-key, humble dude. I mean, just really mellow. You wouldn't expect it, but he's just super cool. I remember having a really odd question for him. This is way back in the day. I don't know why I asked him this question. I guess it just came to mind, but I was a late night sculptor back in the day. I stayed up at night and through the night and worked through the night and did my thing. And I always found a little bit better groove, I guess. Nobody's bugging me. There's no, nothing going on in the middle of the night, so I could just sculpt away and not be bothered. And I figured, Bernie is a night owl. I already know it. He sculpts. He draws through the middle of the night. I know for sure. But then it hit me. I was like, when do you like working, man? Like, what's your favorite time to work? And he goes, yeah, I get up at 5 a.m. and I start drawing at 5 in the morning. And I'm like, wait, what?
Sounds like my hero.
Yeah. I'm like, you're an early bird? Like, how are you inspired at 5 a.m.? He's like, oh yeah, no, I love to get up early in the morning, enjoy the morning and draw. And so he was like, apparently loved it. He was totally opposite of what I thought he would be, which I was in shock, but yeah, you never know.
It's pretty therapeutic watching the sun come up.
Yeah, I guess so. Now I have no choice. I have kids, so I'm an early bird. I'm not good at it, but I have to get up.
Casey, we've got a great question from Matt McNeil, and he was asking, do you prefer sculpting at this scale or one-to-one?
Comfortable at this scale or large scale, whatever it is. I've even, had to work on giant life-size suits in the effects industry. In the beginning, that was a little tricky, actually, getting used to the life-size figure, like a body. I remember being a little overwhelmed a little bit, but I got used to it quick. So that was one scale. And then, of course, anything really tiny these days is tough for me. If I go smaller than this, like a toy, I can't. My eyes are getting old and, you know, I don't know, it's just not as good. So I can't see as well. But so I don't like things too small. But I don't have it here, but I have a smaller bust than this I'm working on. You guys might have seen this 3-headed thing I've shared, like a mutant. It's really small. That whole bust is the size of this bust, so it's a little bit more geared towards the large miniature market. So, but yeah, to answer his question, I don't really have a favorite scale. When it comes to masks, it's life-size stuff, you know. All right, so we got anything else, Ryan, or are we good?
We're caught up for the moment, Case.
All right, so I'm just going to kind of focus a little on this and dig into it and see what we can come up with here. And I mean, you know, so the viewers know, you know, I may work on this tonight and then next week we have something different. You know, we'll probably come back to this guy and show some progress and work on it again. And so that way they can see where everything goes, you know.
How many personal projects do you usually juggle at one point?
That's a good question. I juggle, at one point I can juggle quite a few personal projects. Most of those get worked on the weekends. Sometimes I will work on masks weeknights after my main job and spending some time with my family and dinner and all that. Then I can come back in the studio later and paint. But I've kind of stopped doing that as much as I used to because I was getting a little burnt out, you know, juggling painting all day long for Sideshow and then painting into the middle of the night on my own stuff. It's just too much painting. So, and that's kind of where this YouTube stream comes in, you know, getting a chance to sit down and just sculpt is, for me, huge because I enjoy sculpting a lot and I don't get as much time as I would like in the clay, you know. Start fleshing this arm out a little bit.
Casey, we've got a couple new folks joining us here. We've got Ramon Linares and Wagner Samoa 3D. Oh, sorry, I think Wagner joined a little earlier, but Wagner had was asking that, just saying that he loves seeing the book. It'd be great seeing more books of great artists on the next live streams as well.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And not just books, too. We'll share, you know, sculptures of artists. I would love, because I'd love to share, you know, other artists' work that's inspired me. Or, you know, as you can see behind me, I have a bunch of collectibles and stuff. So I'll share different things that I love and why I love them or why they're inspiring to me or whatever. Definitely appreciate the question and the comments, and we'll continue that throughout the stream. You know, that's an important part to me because I love to get other artists to know others and see other work and I mean, most of us know what's out there and we find these artists, but it's always fun to share them and pay tribute to them and to their work. Okay, so I'm working on these muscles here a little bit and find this arm. It was a real kind of long, creepy arm here. And you'll see I just kind of like add little bits of clay. It's good to focus on anatomy for a while when you're a beginning sculptor too. Just get a decent understanding of anatomy so that when you start to sculpt, you kind of know where things go and how they should look and how they feel. because that's pretty important. I can't stress that enough to new sculptors or guys just starting out, or maybe only a year into it or whatever. Don't try not to avoid anatomy, because that is the key to making your monsters and things feel realistic.
Casey, we've got a couple folks chiming in here. We've got Tommy Cassidy, just wanted to say that he's really enjoying the stream, man, and looking forward to tuning in on Mondays.
Awesome. Tommy, welcome, man. Nice to have you here. Tommy's a mask sculptor, correct? I mean, he work, doesn't he work for Distortions?
Tommy Cassidy?
Yeah.
No.
Right, Ryan?
I think, let's see here.
Is that the right? Do I have the right guy? Sorry. Maybe I'm thinking of someone else.
Yeah, I'm not sure, Casey.
Maybe he can. Maybe he'll answer.
Rogan Johnson says he's asking. Casey, did you ever get around to finishing your killer Pumpkinhead statue kit? That thing was looking so awesome.
Well, no, I did. Not yet. It's very, very, very close. It's not going to be a kit though, like a model kit. But it's very close. Once I do have it finished, I will share some photos of it. I just finished the base, and that thing's been a big thorn in my side for many years, because I just, finding the time to work on something that big with all the pieces and parts and elements, and it's been a challenge to say the least. But thank you for the question on it. Yes, once it's done, I definitely will share photos of a fully painted copy of that monstrosity. It's huge. It's a gigantic piece. Base is like, a whopper, man. It's huge. So, with that being said, yeah, appreciate the question though.
Oh, Casey, you nailed it. That's right. Tommy does work sculpts over at Distortions Limited there.
Yeah.
I think he did the Quirk equivalent. Is that right, Tommy?
He's done a ton of stuff there. Probably that dragon they just did too.
Yeah, Tommy, sound off. Tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, he's like one of the main dudes over at Distortions that I've seen lately. Anyway, yeah, he's a great sculptor, dude. He's also into guitars, man. He's like into. I saw recently he's into guitars. I don't know. Can we see some of the guitars in my background here?
Sure. Yeah.
Show them. None of them are customs or anything, but they're just some of the. I don't know if we can even turn
there.
Anyway, I've got a few guitars here. I know Tommy's into guitars and stuff too. This is pretty rad. But yeah, he's a great sculptor. He's over there working. I've seen a lot of his stuff for Distortions. And thanks for joining us, man. Really appreciate it. We'll keep these Monday night things going, man. Like I said, it's you guys watching are the key to this. I mean, I'm just here giving you some time and working away, and I mean, without you guys, we wouldn't have this thing, and that's the key. It's the more you guys like stuff, subscribe to the channel, and the more we'll do the Monday night thing. It's going to be every Monday for now, and hopefully we can just keep that rolling. Also, Ryan, if they have suggestions on what they want to see, we're open to suggestions too. If there's something specific they'd like to see, see us share on the show.
Well, dear Casey, we've got a big shout out to Mr. Noah Rivers, the man, the myth, the legend,
Yeah.
who's joined the stream.
Noah, what's up, Noah? Thanks for coming, buddy. Noah is a really good friend of mine, young man that's incredibly talented. I mean, absolutely incredibly talented guy. And it's great to have you here, buddy. Thanks for stopping by. Hope you're doing well. I just caught up with Noah pretty recently. So, thanks for coming, dude.
Tony chimes in that he's watching literally while sculpting at Distortions right now.
Rad. That's rad, man. That's rad. Tell him I said hi to Ed Edmonds and Marsha. Hopefully they're there. Or they're probably out at Transworld, actually. So they're probably not there, but rad. Cool. Thanks for joining us, man.
Collier chimes in. He says there might be a bit of a talent overload on the stream right now.
Yeah, I'd say so. That's awesome, though, man. That's great. That is great. All these kick-ass sculptors joining in, dude. That's the best. And sculpting too, along with us, right? Yeah, so what else? As I'm working this, these forms and stuff, I'm just trying to find, some basic structure here to this character. So, checking that as I go along. I'm still not sure about this arm. I'm just gonna kind of leave it here for now until I figure out more of the structure here. I'm almost thinking too, this dude needs, I almost like the idea of him being like more of a chunky yet muscly vibe. So we'll try some of that.
Oh, like a power lifter where they got like that big old belly.
Yeah, kind of that. Yeah, I always refer to the Frank Frazetta look. Frank had this way of drawing these powerful barbarian type characters, that they were kind of chunky and weighty, but yet look powerful and menacing. Yeah, exactly that though. Mm-hmm. So I think I'll throw just a little bit more interesting anatomy in here. I'm one of those sculptors too. Like, everybody's different, but I don't hide any secrets or anything. I'll spend a lot of time on a sculpture, finding it. Like I said, I've slowed down over the years now because I keep finding that I just do better work that way. I'm not big into pressure sculpting there's times where you just have to, you're working for a company and you just got to get things done. So there those times where that just has to be that way. But on my own stuff like this, I'll take a lot of time and just sort of find the character and the anatomy that I want and play around with it and keep changing it until I'm happy with it. Because I'm not working for anybody here except for myself, so I don't have to rush. I got to entertain you guys, but Anyway. Now, one thing that's nice about this clay too, you can see, like even the clay that is cooled down, I'm still able to carve into it really easy and work it and move it around a bit. You can't move large, huge chunks when it's cooled down, but surface-wise, you can really engage with the clay and move things around. Try and get like a rib cage built in here a little bit. Ryan, do we have any more questions or anything going on?
Now we're looking good at the moment, Casey.
All right.
You mentioned earlier you wanted to work at Blizzard. Was there anything you were aiming to do while you were over there?
Yeah, they were interested. At one point, Blizzard was, I don't know where they're at now with all this. So, if I don't want to give any wrong information, but at one point they were looking to build basically a small statue collectible line of statues, a statue line, collectible line, and they were looking to grow that and make that bigger and better, and I don't know if they ever, how far they even went with that, but anyway, they were looking into me as a sculptor and a painter, and I think even a mold and caster. I think they wanted me to do everything, and I was kind of, at first I was kind of like, oh man, I don't know if I want to do everything. Like, sculpting and painting is enough. That's a full job in itself. But the guy they had working there, he was doing all that crazy stuff, and it's like, dude, you're handling all this? It's like, that's insane, man. So it was a little like really like a one-man, two-man show over there, and they were looking to grow that, and so I'd be helping that out, which was fine, but it wasn't. There was a few things I liked about that, and a few things I didn't, because I wasn't sure, like, well, what would my daily job look like, Anyway, things just, it didn't pan out. They found somebody else, and it's kind of between me and that guy or whatever. And I at the time, like I said, Sideshow had caught wind of this and made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and it really, I do feel like I kind of ended up in the right, I feel like I ended up in the right place I should be. So I definitely didn't make a mistake there. I mean, Blizzard would have been great, but Sideshow turned out to be the better choice for me at the time.
Yeah, I know. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to chime in. Casey, I remember that time back when I think you were working on a butcher maquette, or...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was an amazing piece.
Butcher would have been so cool.
I remember
I dropped a butcher... Yeah, dude, that was... The funny thing about that... Well, there's some history there. So my brother worked for Blizzard, and at the time was working there. He's been there a long, long time. And he was working on Diablo, so he commissioned me to actually make him a piece, and it was a ton of work and everything, and it took a while. So the funny thing is that when I went in for the interview, I dropped that butcher on the table in front of them, and they dropped their jaw. They were like, whoa! And then I dropped the like a 12-year list of not list, sorry, a 12-year portfolio of movie effects work on top of it. Plus, on top of that, I had worked on a bunch of these Blizzard statues with one of my buddies, Steve Wang, So they knew me well, they knew who I was, they knew what I was capable of bringing to the table. And it kind of surprised me, that they didn't pick me to be the guy, because I was like, wow, really? Like, I showed you everything under the sun, man. Like, you would think, it was like you couldn't be more perfect. But, hey, things go the way they go, and no harm, no foul. So like I said, I found my place at Sideshow, and that's where I've been ever since. And it's been a blast, and it's been a lot of great times, and I've gotten to work on super amazing projects over there, and found things that I love that I didn't know I loved within whether it's comic book heroes, superheroes, or whatever, so so anyway, but yeah, amazing place, Blizzard, the company, as far as like the overall impressive size and the buildings and all the, when you go down there and you see it all So, and I'm proud of all the work that I got to do with Steve Wang and his crew on those statues. It was a tremendous amount of work, a lot of grueling hours that Steve's team puts in on these things. So it was a lot of fun.
Those things were massive, if I remember correctly. Like, they were massive BlizzCon event statues, were they not?
Yeah, they were. They were.
So it was Gromash, Hellscream, and all that?
Yeah, I worked on that one. Yeah, I did work on that piece. And the crazy part was at the time that I worked on Grom for Steve, Blizzard was doing a miniature statue, and they actually insisted that they're really insistent that I paint it. And I was already working on the life-size one all day long, and I didn't want another project of the same thing exactly. But they were so persistent on it that I do it and it did make sense. I mean, there I was in the middle of painting and sculpting and painting on the big life-size one, so why not make the little one match, you know? So that's what I did, but it honestly, at the time, it was stressful. It was too much of one character, and I was already dealing with so much, trying to give Steve as much of myself as possible on the life-size statue that, you know, I got when I'd sit down at 6, 7 o'clock at night to start working on the little one. I was just burnt out. I was fried. I was like, oh my God, more of this. I just painted all that armor this big. Now I got to paint it this big. It was a little crazy. And the funny thing about that is that was through Sideshow. You know, really it was a statue Sideshow was helping them produce. So I was contacted by Sideshow to paint that piece.
That's so funny. I remember them releasing images of it.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's a line of 300, and I'm like, how much is it? And they're like, $600. And that was the first time I'd ever seen something that high of a price. And I'm like, I'm never going to afford that, but that's really cool looking.
Yeah. It was fun. I mean, it was just a lot of the same character, though, you know. So anyway, but that's kind of my history there with them, short history. I've done some demos down there as well, like live sculpting demos and stuff. Those were a lot of fun, you know. That you would have artists come down and do live sculpture. So that was a blast.
Casey, we've got a question from Ramon Linares. He's asking, any new mask designs in the works?
Who is that again? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, it was Ramon Linares.
Oh, hey Ramon, how are you? Thanks for joining, man. Any new masks? Well, I mean, yes and no on that question, because technically I wouldn't say it's a mask as like wearable, you know. I have a piece that I'm going to be starting very soon for a really good buddy of mine, new buddy of mine this year, but he's, you know, an amazing tattoo artist. I'm doing a trade with him. He's going to be, you know, tattooing me with some really incredible tattoo art, and I'll be sculpting a monsterish, pretty elaborate head for his shop, his tattoo shop, and it's a guy named Dave James Tattoo down in Anaheim area, and I'm doing this huge, like, you know, I don't know how big it's going to be, but pretty good size new werewolf bust, and I mean we're talking like punched hair, acrylic teeth and gums, open mouth, screaming. You know, I did a little maquette that I shared on my Instagram recently, showing what that looks, kind of some of those concepts were looking like. I just did some real quick concepts out of this, actually out of Monster Clay and Super Sculpey. And yeah, that's the newest of the new as far as that. And I mean, it's not a mask, like I said, like wearable. It's more of a prop bust. I usually only sculpt, let's say, you know, if we're talking wearable masks, you know, I usually only sculpt those things, or find the time to sculpt most of them these days around Halloween time. because I always sculpt my own. I kind of have a tradition of sculpting some sort of boogity, monster-y creature every Halloween that I'm gonna wear. I find that very fun to sit down during that time of the year, and you're all inspired and into the Halloween spirit, and sculpting monsters and making things, something to wear for Halloween and scare people or whatever. So usually that time of the year, I'm into the mask zone. It used to be more year round, but I do year round paint masks for orders, collector orders and stuff. But yeah, as far as new stuff in the works right now, just that werewolf piece. But otherwise, no, nothing too much. I do have a bunch, however, a bunch of pieces that will come out as model kits, or little resin busts or figures that you can paint. I'm working on a whole bunch of new stuff in that realm. Like this size thing, Kind of putting in a collar, roughing in a collarbone here.
Yeah, I was going to say. Imagine having one that size and somebody walks up and just grabs it, like, oh, homie.
Yeah. Looks a little weird at first, you lay it in and then you got to kind of blend it down and find the right shape. One of the tricks too with collarbones is to give it, I always find, I think it looks nice. I mean, obviously you want it to make sense, when you're laying it down and putting it down on the figure. But one of the things I always find is to try and also really try to give it some sort of shape. Don't just make because if you see this from the front, maybe it looks straight, but really there's a nice curve shape going on here, and subtle curve, not too extreme, but just enough to suggest movement or that something's going on, it's functioning. And because you can be too static with that sort of thing if you just make a straight bar. I've seen guys do that. I did it when I started. You just make too straight of a bar, too big or whatever, and it just doesn't look like a bone under the skin coming through or whatever. So I always try to make the collarbone. And this guy's kind of heavy set and bulky, so you may not even see much of the collarbone really. I'm just throwing it in for now. We'll see how much of it actually stays behind. A lot of times I just keep blending it down until it's almost barely there. I think it just depends on the character. If I was doing a very skinny character, then you would see a lot more. But I kind of plan on, like I said, making this guy kind of muscular and bulky. And I suppose I should get into more of the character, what I have in mind too, before it's too late tonight, just so people can see what I do have in mind for this guy.
That's about 7:40. We're going until about 8 o'clock tonight, everybody.
Yeah, 8 o'clock is the cutoff for sure. And thank you again to all of you guys that have joined in for this first night and episode. And like I said, we will work on fine-tuning this and making it as cool as we can for these 2 hours. This is just our premiere episode.
I've been taking meticulous notes on things I want to fix.
There we go, yeah. His notes are going to
Casey,
be...
for your first stream night here, the amount of talent, from Tommy from Distortions to from Collier, you've got fans across the board here, and then it's Noah Rivers, of course. It's just really impressive the amount of talent that showed up just to join in and take a look, and hopefully they're working their magic as they watch.
Yeah, not super thankful to everybody, of course, but super thankful to those talented friends of mine out there, that I know on a personal level, for coming over and supporting. I really appreciate it, but I appreciate every one of you guys too. At the same time, I don't want to make that sound like I don't. I do. It's great. I mean, without all of you guys, like I said, this can't be possible. So we'll be here every Monday, and spread the word if you can. Spread the love. Share it if you don't mind sharing it on social media for me and for the show. All that helps tremendously, even if it's just one extra person that we get a week. I don't care what it is. I mean, it's helpful. It slowly grow, you know, this whole community, and make this thing super fun. And one of the other things I wanted to mention earlier, I totally forgot. I apologize. There was so much I was trying to get in this evening and tell all you guys. But yeah, I do plan on having special guests too join in. You know, we can do split screen, and we'll have special guest artists. In fact, Noah Rivers is someone I asked, and I don't want to commit him to anything, but he definitely agreed, and he's one. And there's others I would love to have on the show. I hope to get, you know, a lot of the big name guys out there that I know on somewhat of a personal level or a personal level. So maybe we can get, you know, some really top talented guys on the show to just talk about their career, their art, their passion, monsters, masks, whatever. I mean, we'll talk about everything. What beer they drink at night. So I'm kind of getting into the face a little bit now, trying to focus a little more. You know, I've been kind of focusing on his body, and but you know, I want to get into other areas here. So let me also get a little more wrapped up in the face. Okay. So what I kind of was planning, funny enough, with this character was, this might sound a little weird, especially for Monster Night, but I think it fits. I think it works. But I kind of want to turn this into, this is like the big reveal. No. I want to turn this, let me see, where's my tool? I want to turn this into, there we go, sorry. I want to turn this into a Batman, you know, like a Batman ghoul or a Batman monster type thing. I mean, you got, for those of you that don't know me that well, I'm kind of a nut for Batman, and I've kind of grown even more into one lately, probably because of Sideshow. It's their fault. No. Yeah, I really been getting into some of the, I mean, I've loved it since I was a kid. I would go to this place, and I believe the name, so I grew up down in Temple City, Rosemead, Arcadia, Monrovia, California, if any of you know what that area is. Like, not too far from the Santa Anita Mall. That was kind of my hangout, where the Santa Anita racetrack is. And I used to ride my bike, my BMX bike, over to a city called Rosemead, and over there, I believe it was called Gary's comic book shop. I think that's correct. I remember it was on a corner, and there was a painting of Batman and other cool superheroes on the side of the building. I loved that place. I'd go there after school all the time, and just whenever I could, and I would always buy these old Batman comics, detective comics and stuff. So it kind of started then, and then I, you know, as I got older, kind of got away from it and forgot about it somewhat. I mean, you know, it was always somewhere in the background, of course, but then from working where I work now at Sideshow, you know, I've grown more fond of it again, and now I'm more obsessed with it again. And so yeah, I thought this would be a fun character to try to turn it into that, you know, somehow make the two worlds work together. I mean, it's been done before. It's nothing new. I mean, everybody's seen vampire Batmans and stuff, but I thought, oh, let me make him kind of a ghoul. I might old age this a little bit too, like give him an older Dark Knight ghoul vampire type look. So let me shave this head down a little too. It's kind of a little rounded and large.
I was gonna say he's looking a lot like Penguin from the new movie.
Yeah, it could be it could be Penguin, Batman, Ghoul, mashup.
Casey, I think one of our mutual favorite like Batman designs lately is Dawnbreaker.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. If anyone knows what that is or doesn't know, it's like this multiverse version of Batman, and he's mixed with Green Lantern, and he's kind of nuts. He's kind of like cuckoo or evil. I mean, I don't know a tremendous amount about the character, but I love what I see.
Is it this one over here?
Yes, yeah.
You want me to bring him over or no?
Yeah. Actually, you can bring that over. You can show that. I have a little statue of it that Sam's gonna bring over. Gosh, I know I'm gonna.
Casey, there's a very critical question here that a couple folks here are dying to hear from you. But essentially, they want to find out what is your favorite pizza topping.
My favorite pizza topping. That's an odd question.
Multiple people chiming in, and one in particular, the caller needed to know if you believe in pineapple on the pizza. It seems to be.
I do. Hell yeah.
That's an interesting question. We can get into some pizza topic. Sure. That was the Dawnbreaker, by the way. It's kind of cool, like mashup of Batman and Green Lantern, which I think is really interesting. Okay, pizza. I love pizza, but this might hurt some people's feelings. I'm vegan. I went vegan a while back, but I found a way to still enjoy pizza, just not the same as it used to be. So I battle with something called gout, which is a disease called the King's disease. But there's nothing kingly about it because it's a painful arthritis type thing that hits your foot and your toe, and oh God, it's horrible. I know a few other artist friends that battle this too, and so you really got to be careful what you're eating and ingesting in your body. You know, I've found like everything under the sun is bad for you. I've reached that age, where I'm an old fart. Everything under the sun is bad for me. So pizza, meats and all those things aren't really good for me anymore. So with that being said, I have to avoid what I used to love, which was just straight up pepperoni pizza with pineapple. Yeah. That was it. Round table, man. Pineapple, pizza, pepperoni. That was my combo all throughout my 20s. I could eat it every night. But I can't do that anymore. And I've become somewhat like lactose intolerant with the cheeses and stuff. Like it just wrecks me. So sorry, I have to share, but that's not good. So anyway, I go to when we get pizza, one of our favorite places around where we live now is Topper's Pizza. If any of you have heard of Topper's, and we get it. The crust and stuff is like vegan. Actually, there's no dairy in it, which is great. So now we order that without cheese, just sauce, and then we put all these like veggie toppings on, pineapples and jalapenos and stuff like that. So that's like my new go-to. And then vegan ranch, which is the bomb. If you get a good vegan ranch and you dip that pizza and maybe some red peppers, there you go. That's my solve for that. So there you go. Pizza tips. I love it.
Thanks, Casey.
Yes. What's there? So what's the favorite? The you're saying pineapple toppings, or what? What's other people's favorite pizzas? They can chime off on that. Got to give this guy a strong jaw because anytime I'm looking at these Batman comics, he's got a really strong jaw profile. One of the things I love about the new Batman movie, and I know there's certain people don't like it or whatever, but that's fine. Everyone's got their taste. I loved it. I thought it was great to see Batman as a detective, young, not perfect, gothic vibe, just, gritty and dark, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. But one of the things I remember seeing in the movie that I really loved was his profile. And I was one of those guys, I'll admit it, I didn't care for Pattinson at first, and same with Ben Affleck. I was like, I can't see them as Batman, but then I was wrong, and they were actually great, and I liked both of those guys. They're some of my favorite Batmans, and along with Keaton. Don't worry, don't get mad. Keaton, I like Keaton too. Keaton was awesome. But anyway, the new generation of Batmans, Pattinson, they got the profile right, man. It was the first time when I seen Batman in a costume from a profile where I thought it looked super, it just had the square sort of notchy jaw profile that I always see so well done in comic books by, the greatest of the great, Jim Lee and David Finch and who else? Who's the other major? I'm trying to think of some other names. Sorry, I'm blanking. Bernie Wrightson did awesome Batman too. I just showed you guys that. And
McFarlane jumped in there.
McFarlane, yeah. Silvestri, Mark Silvestri, dude, that guy did some really cool Batman stuff. So anyway, my point is, they did a great job, I thought, with some subtle things in the movie that to me are important when you're trying to pull off a good Batman, I guess. But that, it's all taste. Everybody's got, what they like or don't like. And I know plenty of people that didn't like it at all, so oh well. I loved it. I say go see it if you haven't seen it. It's long, but the funny thing about it is it goes by very quickly. That shocked me too. Like, it didn't seem like 3 hours. Right? You've seen it 3 times.
Yep.
So
Yep.
How did you feel?
Yeah, I didn't feel like it was that long either. I'm like, it's so funny. It gets to the chase sequence with him and Penguin, and it's like, is this halfway through? It feels like I've only been here for like 20 minutes. Like, it feels like they just got out of the room with the mayor and everything.
Yeah.
I love the humor in it too. Like the really like subtle, what is it? Just like low key humor.
Yeah. One of the things I loved too was he's just, the cops hate him, and he is this vigilante, and I think they even referenced the year time frames, which I thought was cool, because that's kind of a reference to year 1 Batman and year 2.
Yeah,
like,
he's in the middle of his second year as
yeah,
Batman.
it's like his second year, and it's he's learning and whatever, and he's trying to make a difference in the city. I don't know, that vibe was cool, but anyone that didn't like him, these cops that were talking bad about him right to his face and stuff, the side-eye looks he would give, I just thought were so awesome. Because he just was like, yeah, whatever. I don't care what you think. I'm here to do what I'm here to do. It's just, yeah, and he was more or less not Bruce Wayne as much as he was Batman, I like that.
I like how towards the end the cops started like just not even really caring that he was, or not that it wasn't that they didn't care. They were just like, Batman's here. All right, keep working.
Yeah.
Whereas in the beginning they're like, what the hell's Batman doing here? Like, or what's this guy doing here? It's a vigilante.
Yeah. It's just I thought it was really well done. The cinematography in that movie too, which I know a lot of people talk about, is amazing. Whether you like the movie or not, that cinematography was amazing.
Same guy who did Rogue One.
Yeah.
Greg Fraser. He's my favorite DP working right now.
Yeah, it's just amazing stuff.
Casey, we've got some great questions coming in as we start to close down here. We've got Mob Scene Studio asking, don't know if it was touched on yet, but can we ask if which solvents do you like to use with Monster Clay?
Oh, right. Well, I know who that is. Is that Mike O'Brien or Christina, right? Mike. I'm pretty sure. I hope he doesn't mind me throwing that out.
Mob Scene Studio.
Yeah,
is their
Mob
user
Scene.
on-
That's my buddy Mike O'Brien, I believe. Mike, if that's you, thank you for joining, buddy, and hanging out. I appreciate the question. With this one, solvent, and I feel like if it is Mike, I feel like I'm answering something he already knows, but it's a good, but I appreciate the question because he's a veteran sculptor, amazing sculptor. And so the solvent I use for this, when I do get to a solvent, will be a mixture of 99% alcohol and terpenoid. So what I do is I mix it 70, sorry, I'm trying to remember, it's been a while. So I do 70% alcohol, 70%, 99% alcohol. You guys are going to have to write this down. And 30% terpenoid, roughly. Just, guess. It doesn't have to be perfect. But too much terpenoid will leave the surface very gummy. And that's where all the alcohol comes into play. Because alcohol doesn't really aggressively attack monster clay because there's so much wax. It's the terpenoid that does the job. But the alcohol helps. It helps you when you're trying to flash the surface off and get it back to workable. Because, you don't want a slimy clay surface. So hopefully that helps.
Ooh, unless you're doing like Clayface or something.
Yeah, then you can melt it. Well, you can use a torch on this stuff, and it'll just goop and melt everywhere. So there you now we're seeing like a little bat ear kind of there going on. Let's see if we can kind of play with this expression a little bit too. Any other questions, or was there some others, Ryan, that I missed?
No, I think we're good to go at the moment. But Mob Scene Studio, they confirmed that it was. I think Mike.
You can't hide from me, Mike O'Brien. You can't hide from me. I know who you are. Yeah, no, it's an old buddy of mine from the effects days. We worked on a lot of films together, and he's amazing. Does some amazing work. You guys should check out his stuff too.
Yeah, I love his guild, man.
Oh my God, yeah. Is that thing done, Mike? Is the Gill Man done now? Are you done? You've had how many years? That thing is crazy, like this tall, or maybe bigger, I forget, 3 feet. That he started back when we were at ADI, and oh man, it's a beauty. It's supposed to come out as a kit, I think. I'm not sure. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I think. And I remember telling him, like, dude, I'll paint one. Got to get me one. I'll paint it up. All right, let's start giving as we wind down. How much time do we have, by the way?
We have 3 minutes, but we can go over a couple.
God, yeah, a couple minutes, and that's it. I can't go over it all, really. We got to end these, unfortunately, right at 8. But, okay, let's just, real quick, I'm just going to throw in a few little odds and ends. I didn't get to throwing eyes in, but let me throw in some teeth and stuff here. I'm going to give him this really creepy smile, almost more Joker-like in a way, but I don't want it to get I don't want it to be too Joker. I don't want to get like confusing on what the character is. But at least you'll see how I would kind of rough it in. Kind of almost going to have a overbite or maybe even an underbite. I don't know. So like with teeth and stuff, I'll sometimes I'll just rough it in quick, and then I'll refine the heck out of the teeth later. But since he's a bat or a ghoul or whatever, okay, it's not sticking. Since he's kind of a bat ghoul character, try to suggest some teeth here. And sorry if I'm not facing the camera all the time.
No, it's okay.
Trying to be cautious about that. And we'll come back around and show you guys some more on this guy it's not like, oh, this is it, and you don't get to see it ever again. We'll swing back around on another episode and share where we're at and some more things, maybe reworking some forms, adding detail or early detail. You know, we'll fit it in.
Wow, this tea came quick.
Yeah, I mean, these are just rough too. These are just crude and just suggesting. You know, you can see how quick too it suggests the expression, and you know that for me is just important to see it, and then from there I can kind of rework. Of course, Batman has, you know, that cowl too. So let's try to suggest that before we head off the air here. Let's try to kind of want to down point that nose a little. It's more Batman-like. Start to suggest this cowl. It does look like a penguin Batman. Uh-oh. I don't know. Anyway.
Casey, I know how much, you know, you really wanted this to be a community event. So, you know, I'm just sending in the chat here a huge thank you from the moderator side for everyone, you know, that joined today and chimed in, asked some excellent questions, and got to challenge Casey a bit. And we all got to watch you work your magic, Casey.
Yes. Before we sign off here, I would like to just say one more time, thank you all for all your time and joining in, and exactly what Ryan's saying. You know, we want to build this into a family, community type situation where we're getting together every Monday night, talking monsters and sculptures and sharing some tips and tricks with you guys. You know, we'll share a whole bunch more. And, you know, just as a reminder, and I know, you know, a lot of streamers say this and you hear it all the time, but we got to say it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. That really helps us out. It'll help continue for us to grow and grow the community and make the show even better. Anything else I'm missing on that point? So, yeah, please, again, like and subscribe. And then also be sure to follow me on my Facebook, which is caseylove Designs. Or sorry, Facebook is caseylove, and my Instagram is caseylove Designs, and obviously the YouTube channel is caseylove Monsters. So follow along, and we'll be back next Monday with something new. And don't worry, we will show you guys more of this Batman penguin thingy, whatever it is, as it progresses. So yeah, thank you so much. Any last questions, Ryan? We could take one more before we head out here and I wind down on this thing.
No, Casey, Mob Scene Studio, of course, says, damn, on blast. Almost done, though, buddy.
What did he say?
He said almost done. He's almost done with
Oh.
the old man.
He's like, darn it, I'm on blast, but, you know, thanks, buddy. Almost.
Sorry, man, I had to. I'm one of those guys still waiting to see that thing. No pressure, man. Take your time. I know you're trying to make it as cool as possible. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you all again. Those of you that stumped me with your questions, sorry I couldn't help you more. I'll try to do some homework. All right. So, if you can too, leave a comment. Stuff you liked and stuff you want to see going forward. We're more than happy to check your comments and see what you guys are into. I mean, we're open to suggestions as well. If you guys want to see something specific on the channel, you know, painting, sculpting, whatever it is, let us know, and we'll try to get it in there. And that's it for now, I think. We'll continue with more down the road.
Let's see what we got.
got a half done, sort of half roughed out. Oh, real quick, by the way, what I'm planning to do with this hand, which I'll, try to take away the surprise. I think what will be cool is once I get a cape and some other things on there and the bat symbol, like right here's the bat symbol, right? You got this and then you got this and then, we got that and then this. Boom, boom, right? You got your bat symbol there. Once I get all that and I get the wrinkles and all that and the folds and all the pretty stuff and the anatomy, of course that's after all the anatomy's in and correct. I'm thinking what would be cool is if he had this long creepy hand with this really long fingers and he's holding a bat upside down. The bat, how bats hang like he's like a pet, and maybe one on his shoulder or something.
Like one's like just sitting on his finger. Like
yeah, just like it's just like grabbing onto his hand. And he's got this long creepy fingers, and then he's got this bat pet hanging there that he's checking out or something. Maybe I'll have his arm up here more, like he's looking at it, like inspecting it. I don't know. Might be fun. A little storytelling. All right, so that's it. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you and your time. Thanks for stopping by, and we're gonna see you next Monday for a new Monday Night Monster live stream. I almost forgot the name of my own show. All right.
Good night,
Peace
everybody.
out. Good night. Have a good one.